Let's get one thing straight. Captain America The First Avenger was never the most hyped MCU film. It was never the flashiest. It didn't have the ensemble cast of the Avengers or the irreverent swagger of Iron Man. But here's the twist. This movie quietly laid the emotional and thematic foundation of the entire Infinity Saga, and it did it with one of the most faithful, focused origin stories the MCU has ever put on screen. Yeah, it's easy to overlook it, but the first Avenger is better than you remember, and today we're going to break it down and why. The story opens in the 1940s when the world is on fire with war, and the skinny little Steve Rogers just wants to do his part. Right out of the gates, the film makes something very clear. This is not a superhero defined by his strength, it's his character, his refusal to stand down. And for once, the CGI used to shrink Chris Evans didn't feel like a gimmick. It's essential to the transformation that's coming. Dr. Eskin sees what the military doesn't, that Steve, despite being physically unremarkable, understands sacrifice, courage, and the weight of responsibility. That iconic line, not a perfect soldier but a good man, isn't just a window dressing, it's the thesis for the entire Captain America arc. Then comes the transformation, the super soldier serum, and yes, we get the full reveal, the costume, the build, the jawline of America. Say what you want, but this was one of the best Captain America costumes in MCU. The leather, the muted colors, it walked that thin line between wartime uniform and comic book iconography in a way that just worked. It wasn't trying to be tactical gear from a sci-fi future. It felt like something built for World War II, and it sells the fantasy. Now let's talk about the villain, Red Skull. He's not the kind of villain you get philosophical with. He's the kind you run from. The crimson face, the obsession with power, that twisted ideology. It's comic book villainy at its most unapologetic, and it's honestly kind of refreshing at the time. Hydra, as introduced here, isn't just some underground science cult. They're a symbol of unhinged ambition, technology without morality. That kind of threat doesn't just die with one war. And this movie steps up Hydra's impact on the MCU for years to come. Back to Cap, once he proves himself, we dive into war effort montage, him punching the guy with the mustache, leading missions behind enemy lines, commanding respect not because he's strong but because he puts himself on the line. His team, the Howling Commandos, don't get a lot of development, but their inclusion adds texture to the world. The story keeps moving. Now the emotional core, Steve and Peggy, their relationship is restrained, mature, and genuinely touching. Unlike a lot of superhero love interest, Peggy is competent, witty, and actually written like a person, and that makes the ending sting a little. When Steve sacrifices himself to crash the plane into the Arctic, it's not about martyrdom, it's about duty. He didn't become a hero by getting the serum. He was already one. The serum just gave him the tools to live up to what he already believed in. And the final scene, Steve waking up in a modern day, realizing he's lost 70 years and the life he could have had with Peggy, is one of the most quietly tragic endings in the MCU. The line, "I had a date," doesn't try to make you cry, it just lands clean and heavy. This wasn't just a solid film, it was a faithful adaptation. The 1940s settings wasn't just a window dressing, it felt lived in. The patriotic tone wasn't just cringe, it was sincere. There's a reason this movie still holds up. It knew what it was and didn't try to be something else. This movie also did something most origin stories fumble. It gave us a character with a complete arc before he even put on the costume. Steve didn't have to learn to be brave or selfless, he just had to be given the opportunity to act on it. That's what makes Captain America different from the rest of the Avengers, and the first Avenger made that clear from the very beginning. So yeah, maybe it doesn't top every best MCU film list, but in hindsight, Captain America The First Avenger is the kind of film focused on storytelling that's aged better than anyone expected. It was the emotional bedrock of the Avengers' future, a war film disguised as a superhero movie, and one of the most genuinely faithful origin stories Marvel's ever told. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, it's time for a goodbye.